live by bread alone. Yeah, this word got food in it. Stepping on the devil dome, you should see the bruise in it. Backing out the scripts, told a demon to stand down. Go against the Most High, we gon' see how it pan out. The Father gave me hope, fill me with the ghosts. Now they hate it when I glow. Joseph with the coat, looking for their fruit, but they ain't got no cantaloupe. The Messiah over Lio, you can't be a fan of both. Can't serve two masters. Bread of heaven with the living water, yeah, serving up a truth platter. We ain't idolizing no folly, now we setting up a new standard. When Christ touched down, make the whole earth shake like Bruce Banner. Yeah, bringing them troops to ya. End times getting spookier, warfare getting nuclear, mankind getting goofier. They intoxicated with a wine, damn, she done roofied them. I'm checking every word, spirit doctrine like a proofreader. I hate these Nicolaitans, hate these great Renatos, man, I hate these flipping pagans. Trying to play my father and I hate these imitations. Screaming out Hosanna, we escape that simulation. Better flee to me, vote these or else that lake is where you layin'. Great is he inside of me, casting out this net like I was by the Sea of Galilee. Harvest gon' be plenty, but the laborers are few. Matthew 17 and 20, there ain't nothing we can't do. I can't be no lukewarm, fringes with the blue on. Devil wanna deal, but I told him this ain't Groupon. Praise to the Almighty, you know we gon' sing a new song. Hail the King of King, the Ultra Low, no Jimmy Neutron. If you keep his laws and his commands, then we can fellowship. I don't get with Pharisees and I don't rock with Hellenists. I ain't praising man, cause only Father get my reverence. I'm swimming in the word, it got me feeling like a yellowfin. Yeah, big stepper, Mr. Demon Chin Checker, trying to hear that well done, cause I feel that displeasure. Father pouring out the wrath, and he got a big measure. If it ain't about the kingdom, then I don't give a six letter. You got faith in the Messiah, you got power. I was clean up in that blood just like a shower. Isaiah 5, you were the vine that came out sour, but now we stand and giving glory in this hour. Yeah, we breaking them curses, fleeing the ways of the serpent. Follow his word and pray for discernment, cause they want us laying in hearses. We gotta rise up, raise and resurface, choose life and stay in your purpose. The price was paid like a merchant, through Christ who came as a servant. See, the kingdom is ready to bag, but yet somehow they chasing a Birkin. After this you ain't getting a chance, while you living you can't better search him. Gotta call on his name like it's urgent, never know when that day is emerging. So repent at the weight of perversions, judgment coming, that thing is for certain. Let's go.
Shalawam, Shalawam, family. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor unto the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahawashi, Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. It's your brother Shar Ahrayahla. And as you guys can see, we're getting ready to react to a video by the brother Truth Unedited, right? Now, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard of the brother Truth Unedited. 1 in the chat if you've heard of the brother. One in the chat if you've heard of the brother Truth Unedited. All praise to the Most High. So Sister Namara, she said she hasn't, right? A couple of brothers and sisters said they have. The brother, funny enough, right? I used to follow this brother's YouTube page when I was in the Christian church. Some of you guys, if you've been around for some time, you know, my old channel before it got clipped, you know, I've spoken of my testimony of coming into the truth various times, right? You know, I was raised in the Christian church. You know, I was dunked in the water when I was 6 years old. You know, I was in a small Christian school from pre-K to 8th grade, went to Catholic high school, you know, graduated, went to college, was on the gospel choir my entire college career. And, you know, I was actually thinking of going to seminary school, you know, before the Most High God, you know, of course, put me on the path to finding the truth and, you know, I already knew I was an Israelite for a little bit of time before I came into the truth. But like I said, I was still in the Christian church and whatnot, and I was thinking about going to seminary school, right? I didn't have the full doctrine, right? And, you know, while I was in that phase between, you know, knowing we were the Israelites and still being in the Christian church, I used to follow this brother. I used to follow a ton of other brothers. I used to follow a pastor by the name of Dr. Stephen Darby, right? Love that brother, man. I remember he had passed away, and I was like, I was rocked. Like, damn, the brother was teaching that we were the Israelites. There was another brother by the name of Dr. Omar Tibu down in Lafayette, Louisiana. Oh man, Sister Naziar said it should be called Truth Edited. Listen, man. Yeah, the brother Truth Unedited, you know, made really good he makes very palatable lessons, right? So-called biblical lessons. And, you know, he's not, you know, as far, let's say, right as or let's say far left, right? Far left as a Christian pastor, right? He's like kind of in the middle. He's almost like a moderate. And like I said, he makes very palatable videos. It's clear that the brother is as the sister Chef Kai said, he's a diet Israelite, right? He understands that we are the Israelites, right? He's what I would call a Hebrew Christolite, right? So he's in the middle. And the brother, as of late, has been throwing a lot of shots at the Israelite community. And you know, it's he's been running his mouth too much. Now, we're gonna dive into this video that he did, titled "Who is Esau?" Right? Who is Esau? And man, my little brother was telling me about it, because it's funny enough, my little brother's in the truth. He's actually visiting right now, and he was telling me about it the other day, about this video. And of course, well, I haven't watched the video, so we're gonna look at it today together, right? And I'm gonna just, you know, listen to what the brother has to say, because, you know, clearly we Hebrew Israelites, we're so wrong, right? We are, we're full of hate, right? He has had a conversation with the brother Deacon. Shout out to the brothers of Genesis, and it's clear that this brother has an issue with what people have blanketed as one West Hebrew Israelism, right? So we're gonna dive into this in just a second. All right, Shalawam's who's this? Shalawam, Sister Masalah. So yeah, let's dive into this, right? So let me pull it up. It's on YouTube real quick. All right, let's look at the brother's page. All right, so before we actually dive into the video, right, I want to make sure that you guys, again, it's the Shabbat, where Shabbat's ending here on the East Coast in probably about 2 hours or so. But I want to, of course, plug no businesses or anything like that. Definitely want to plug here. What's going on? There we go. Boom. Definitely want to plug the Sister Masalah's GoFundMe, right? Link should be in the description, right? So if it's on your brothers and sisters' heart, right? If you guys have, you know what I mean? Scripture tells us that alms cover a multitude of sins. Definitely tap in here and help the sister out, help support her and her children. All right. So let's take a look at the brother. I think the brother's name is Ron, right? So let's look at the description of his channel. This channel was made to tell the truth about subjects most channels shy away from. The goal is to give the unedited truth, regardless of how hard it is to hear, in order to prepare the bride for the Messiah, right? There are so many lies and pieces of deception that are stumbling blocks for those wanting the truth about Yahuwah and Yahusha. Now, I don't know who those individuals are, right? I know YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI. I don't know who Yahuwah and Yahusha is, all right? This channel will give it to you with love and care. If you have questions, please email me and I will try to respond and assist you. If you feel led to donate and bless this ministry, the link is below. It is greatly appreciated, right? So he has a website, right? He has an Instagram, right? I'm quite curious. Let's take a look at the brother's website. This website is horrible. I'm gonna keep it above. This website is pretty trash. Principal. Let's see. Yeah. So here's the brother's website. You know what I mean? Pretty terribly designed website, I might add. Right. But we're going to be reacting to this video. I may also be reacting to this video, right? It's from 6 days ago, right? Is there salvation for the Gentiles? A strong rebuke. This right here is a strong rebuke, right? To Hebrew Israelites that say no. So this brother, right, clearly wants to save the heathen. And, the reason why this brother's page has so many thousands, he has 763,000 subscribers, right? It's because his doctrine is so watered down, right? You see, actually, real quick, let's go to the Bible, right? Straight is the gate and broad is the way, right? So check this out, right? So Yahawashi says here in Matthew chapter 7, in verse 13, it says, "Enter ye at the straight gate," right? Straight means narrow, right? It says, "Enter ye at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be that which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it," right? So life, eternal life, right? If you guys haven't, right, watched the video that I did on eternal life, what it is, who's it's for, what it looks like, right? I did a video. Honestly, I think it's one of the best videos I ever did through the spirit and power of YAHAWAH, shanyam-ishar, right? and the style in which I did it, I wasn't here on StreamYard how I'm typically, broadcasting. I took me very long to edit this video. Literally had the audio for every single Bible verse, had visuals. So it's a really good lesson, right, on what eternal life is, right? And eternal life is or will be actualized when, of course, Yahawashi returns. He's the key to eternal life. And eternal life are the children of Israel in the kingdom of heaven, which will be on earth, right? Keeping the commandments of God forever, perfectly. Why? Because the children of Israel will be brought under the bond of the new covenant, right? Where the laws will be written on their inward parts. And it's only for the children of Israel. Okay, the other nations, the heathen, right? As we read in other prophecy, it states that we would rebuke many people. But under the new covenant, the children of Israel will not have to teach every man his neighbor, saying, know the Lord. If I don't have to teach you to know the Lord, or if I don't have to teach you of how to keep God's commandments, and the prophecies also say that all the nations are going to flow into Israel and learn of our ways, that proves emphatically that the new covenant is indeed not for the heathen, right? The only way to get salvation, you have to be under that bond of that new covenant, right? It's abundantly clear that salvation is not for them. So we will definitely take a look at that video, and Lord willing, in a few days as well. All right. So let's go back to the brother's page. And let's pull this up.
The side of the awakened Israelite.
Or white man.
What's going on here?
Standing. As I discussed the Hebrew Israelites, there was a lot of confusion still in the midst because of the teachings of the mainstream Israelite camps. There is a debate about salvation being granted to the Gentiles. The overall theme in the Hebrew Israelite camps is that salvation is not for the Gentiles, and that our father Yahuwah hates white people because Israelites believe that white people descend from Esau. This is very false doctrine that was created through Freemasons that have been passed down through time without real correction.
So he's on this kick about one West Hebrew Israelism, right? That the camps, that there is a connection to Freemasonry, right? And I actually, so he for some reason believes that Elder Bivens, that he was a Freemason, right? So actually, I was looking at this earlier today, right? That's not what I wanted, right? I was looking at this earlier today, right? So if we go to the good brother Deacon, right? Let's go to Deacon's channel, right? Shout out to my brother Deacon, right? So him and Hassan went live 3 weeks ago, right? And funny enough, Deacon hopped on this video. A lot of people were sending me the video that he did on the Hebrew Israelites, and of this nigga just knows that there's this Masonic connection, right? I didn't have the time at the time, but obviously Deacon hopped on it, and they destroyed this brother, right? So actually, let's go really quickly to go to timestamp. Check this out.
Based upon it, Bivens will say what they know, what they don't know. Now, there is no record of Bivens as a Freemason.
So this guy, so Elder Bivens is like the guy who One West stems from. If we're going to use one individual for whom One West stems from, it's from Elder Bivens. And Elder Bivens has a book, right? So he's saying that he added to Wentworth Matthews' teachings, right? But he added a conclusion that all whites descend from Esau, right? Then he says there is no record of Bivens as a Freemason. But he's a Freemason. There's no record of it, but he knows emphatically that he's a Freemason. Like, bro, who are you, my nigga? But let's continue.
Actually, not a lot known about him at all. But based upon his book, we know that he knew of Freemasonry, and it's easy to draw the conclusion that he was a Mason.
So in this portion of this video, all right, shout out to my brothers Deacon Hassad, right? They literally go through the book and he's speaking against lodges. Lodges go back to Freemasonry, right? So this nigga is full of shit, right? Truth unedited, brother, right? I love you. I have nothing against you, but you're full of shit, right? You are on this tirade because you're a false prophet. You're a false teacher, right? And I'm just going to be frank. I'm not the type of guy that's going to sugarcoat, right? Anything. False teachers. Check this out, right? Check this out. So let's go to the Apostle Peter, right? It says, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Right. So the Apostle Peter, who Hamashiach Yahawashi gave the keys, right? He built the church, right? As Peter as the rock, right? Peter's called the rock of the church, right? And he said, whatever you bind in heaven shall be bound on earth, right? Whatever you loose in heaven shall be loose on earth, right? So Peter, right? Contrary to what Christians believe, Peter is the number one apostle. Paul, who you guys love, Paul himself says that he's the least of the apostles. The least of the apostles, okay? So, with that established, right, this brother, just as there were false prophets, right, throughout the ages of Israel, right, there are false teachers, right? I don't think this brother claims to be a prophet, right? But he so-called teaches, right? He has 736,000 subscribers, right? This video has 98,000 views. So 98,000 people have been lied to about who Esau is, right? And we're going to go through this. We're probably not going to go through the entire video. I haven't watched it, right? And we're going to demonstrate that this brother does not know what he's talking about, right? So let's go to let's go to the book of Luke, right? And I'll start. I'm sorry, verse 20. It says, and he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, blessed be the poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. Blessed are ye that weep now, for ye shall laugh. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you. It's clear that this brother hates us. He hates the Hebrew Israelite movement, right? And when they shall separate you from their company and shall reproach you and cast out your name as evil, right? He's painting the whole Hebrew Israelite community as evil. Now, as someone who's in the Hebrew Israelite community, there are many evil niggas in Israel. Don't get that twisted, right? But when we're looking at Hebrew Israelites, and we're looking at the rest of our people, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, our people are evil as all hell, right? There's not a single righteous Christian, so-called follower of Christianity, not a single one. Because righteousness, right, is the keeping of the law. They teach you, hey, don't even worry about that, okay? It says, they shall cast your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets, right? The same way that these evil people who will just dog you, right, who will drag your name through the mud, right? Their fathers did the same thing to the prophets. It says, but woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. And the fact that this brother has 763,000 subscribers, right? That this video has 98,000 views, right? Let's look at some of his other videos, right? This nigga did this video.
Welcome to the Truth Unedited channel.
This nigga did a video 6 days ago. It's 52,000 views. Okay. What is coming in this world is going to require you to walk in faith. Make sure you have it. 82,000 views. Right. Let's look at some of his other videos. Right. His video about Hebrew Israelites. Right. Part 2, 75,000 views. His part 1, 117,000 views. So now you have smeared all Hebrew Israelites, right? You have blanketed us, right, as all being the same, right? And you saying that, oh, we're Freemasons. Let me tell you something, Mr. Ron. I've never been a part of Freemasonry, right? Many of you guys, all right, who've been following me for some time, you guys know that while I was in college, I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And when I came into the announcement of the truth, I denounced my letters. I denounced Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. For him to just say that we're just Freemasons, right, and that this stems from Freemasonry, but in the same time, he can come out of his mouth and say, there's not much is known about this guy. He's known about Freemasonry, so it's safe to say that he's a fucking Freemason. Like, what are we talking about? Like, how do you jump from, yeah, there's not much known about this guy. It's clear he knows about Freemasonry. He's a Freemason. But these are the lengths that evil niggas like this brother Ron will go, right? All to discredit, right, God's servants, right? And all to bring salvation for all people. Okay, so let's just go back for a couple seconds, right?
You know, we'll show you what's going on, brother. Let's play a little bit more. Yeah,
or maybe this is not people they were indoctrinated and influenced by that they don't even know about. Or maybe they do. I don't know these people to say what they know or what they don't know. Now, there is no record of Bibbins as a Freemason. There's actually not a lot known about him at all. But based upon his book, we know that he knew of Freemasonry, and it's easy to draw the conclusion that he was a Mason because of the knowledge that he had. But here's the thing that I do. I personally do not like making conclusions that have not been proven. So though I do assume he was a Mason based upon his connections to
what? Yo, this nigga just double talked.
That he had Freemasonry, and it's easy to draw the conclusion that he was a Mason.
It's easy to draw the conclusion that he was a Freemason.
The knowledge that he had.
Based off the knowledge that he had.
Thing that I do. I personally do not like making conclusions that have not been proven.
I don't like making conclusions that have not been proven.
So though I do assume, family, what's that phrase? What's that colloquial term? All right, about making assumptions. When you assume, you make an ass of you and me. Brother Ron, you have made an ass of yourself. Because you're assuming that Elder Bivens was a Freemason. Like, what is this nigga talking about? Brother Brown Hornet, not at this time, but possibly later. All right. Was a Mason based upon his connections to Matthew, and Matthew was very much about bringing people into his Masonic lodge.
I don't know if this individual was a Mason or not. Who cares, right? Just because you know someone who's a Mason, right, does not make you a Mason. That's just stupid.
The fact that Bivens had Masonic knowledge that he should not have had unless he was a Mason. As I try to remain credible, I cannot cite that he was a Mason, but I do reject him, being that he knew of Freemasonry and the lodge, and in his writings he spoke.
Hold on. Do you know Freemasonry? Because you just know that everyone's a freaking Freemason. Do you know about Freemasonry? Does that make you a Freemason? Mr. Truth Unedited. I mean, Truth Edited. His channel should be called Falsehood Unedited. That's what his that's what the channel should be called. Falsehood Unedited. Because all you do is spew falsehood.
Nothing against it.
Wait, what? So okay, let me see. Maybe because I'm trying to maybe the PDF thing.
So as Hassad and Deacon go through the book, right? Elder Bivens' book that he wrote of himself, he actually speaks against Freemasonry. Right? So this guy is full of it. If you follow Truth Unedited, you are being led by a false teacher. You are being led off of a cliff. Okay? So with that said, let's jump into this video, right?
Have accepted that those they label as white people descend from Esau. Because scripture states that Yahuwah hates Esau, therefore, if they label those they call white people as Esau, it gives them credibility to hate white people. This understanding and doctrine is again based upon Masonic teachings used to spread division and be a thorn in the side of the awakened Israelites.
Like, what is this guy talking about? Like, what? Let Freemasonry. Freemasonry was founded by white people, sir. Freemasonry is a fraternal organization with a historic rooted in stonemason guild, but evolved into a system of moral and ethical teachings for its members, right? When you look at Freemasonry, right, there's two branches of Freemasonry, right? Not two, but you have this branch of Freemasonry called Prince Hall Freemasonry, all right? And Prince Hall Freemasonry is because black people were not allowed to be Masons at first, right? So Freemasonry literally comes from white people. So the teaching that the white man is Esau comes from Freemasonry? What are we talking about, bro? The logical leaps that and bounds that this man, all right, engages in demonstrates how incredibly unintelligent he is. Just because a nigga can speak well does not mean that they're smart. I just want that to be made known.
Them from doing the will of our Father. It is an understanding that Israelites that keeps them from doing the will of our Father.
Keeps them from doing the will of our Father? Okay, so let's look at what the will of God is. Psalm chapter 40 in verse 8. It says, I delight. Actually, because this is talking about Yahawashi, right? I'll start right here, verse 7. It says, then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book, it is written of me, right? This is, of course, about Yahawashi, right? This is a Psalm of David, okay? It says, I delight to do thy will, O my God, yea, thy law is within my heart. So the will of God is that we keep the laws. Last time I checked, Hebrew Israelites, by and large, teach that we have to keep the commandments. Now, whether every single individual who claims to be a Hebrew Israelite keeps the commandments or not, right? Because that's not what we're talking about. But what Hebrew Israelites teach is that in order to be saved, you have to keep the commandments and you have to keep faith in who the world calls Christ. That's what every camp, regardless of whether we agree the new moon is the full moon or the dark moon, whether we believe that the Sabbath is predicated upon the lunar phases or Friday to Saturday, whether we any other small minute doctrines, what we teach collectively is that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the children of Israel, and that we have to keep the commandments of God and maintain faith in Christ. Like, what is this guy talking about? Brother Ruben made a good point. Why do these people always defend Esau? They never do this for other races like Cambodians or Iranians. The love of our worst enemy is toxic. Yes, right? So I don't know what his stance is per se, but if I can guess, he believes that so-called Caucasians are descendants of Japheth. And I would love to see how he's going to go and venture to prove that. Okay, so let's go back.
It is an understanding that people can have because it does not require study or understanding. I want to make sure that
it doesn't require study or understanding. Okay, let's see
this topic and make sure that I make it clear about the falsehoods that surround the Israelite camps. It is completely understandable on why many people have fallen for this false doctrine. I understand that many people come across these false teachings, and it's easy to believe because of the wickedness and the hatred and the racism from those in the so-called white community that have oppressed us and hated us and our ancestors for centuries. I mean, many of them still do to this day.
Okay, so now let's start getting to cutting this nigga, right? So, Brother Ron, are we the children of Israel, so-called black people? I'm not sure if he believes Latinos are Israelites, right? But I'm pretty sure that he believes that so-called black people are the Israelites, right? So let's go to the book of Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7 and verse, where do I want to start? Right, verse 19. It says, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, right? So there's 4 beasts that Daniel sees in Daniel the 7th chapter, right? The fourth is diverse from the others, right? Again, it says which was diverse from the others. So you have this griffin, which is a lion with wings, represents the Babylonian Empire. Then you have a bear, which is lifted up on one side with 3 ribs in its mouth, represents the Medo-Persian Empire. Why is it lifted up on one side? Because the Persians had more power than the Medes, right? If you put 2 children on a seesaw and you have one kid that's fat and the other kid that's light, that seesaw is going to be tipped, right? Then you have this leopard with 6 wings and 4 heads, right, which represents the Greek Empire. And then you have this 4th beast, which is dreadful, right, with 10 horns, and another little horn comes up out of that, out of one of his heads, right? These represent the Western European power structure, okay? And what stems from the Roman Empire. Last time I checked, the Roman Empire, they were white people, okay? So it says, then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others. How was the Roman Empire diverse? It had a democracy, okay? It says, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, right? This little horn whose look was more stout than his fellows, as it says, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, right? So of these horns, right, there's 10 horns. These 10 horns represent the 10 common markets that made up the original European Union, which was known as the European Economic Community, okay? Out of those horns comes this little horn, which is America, okay? This little horn speaks great things, speaks blasphemy, right? And as we're going to see, it makes war with the saints, okay? It says, look was more stout than his fellows, right? It says, I beheld, and that same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. So Hamashiach Yahawashi in Luke chapter 21, right? Luke chapter 21 and verse 24. Just look how easy it is to cut this nigga, right? Luke chapter 21 verse 24. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. You believe that we're the Israelites. It says, in Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And then it goes to say, and there shall be the signs in the sun and in the moon and the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity and the sea and the waves roaring. All right. Men's hearts failing them for fear and looking after those things which are coming on the earth, and for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and with great glory. So now let's go back to Daniel chapter 7, right? And we'll come back here to verse 21, right? Here we have right? He's given the vision of the four beasts, right? From verses 1 through 8. Okay. We see verse 9. It says, I behold till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, right? The thrones of what? These Gentiles who are ruling on the earth, right? Now, really quick, let's go to Daniel chapter 4, right? Watch this. Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. It says, this matter is by decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and he setteth up over it the basis of men. So the Most High God, he's the one who's in control of all these thrones. He'll put whoever on the throne. Right now, we're the basis of men. Right now, so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we are treated like the scum of the earth, but we're really God's chosen people, right? We are who the Most High God has chosen to be set above all nations, but right now we're beneath all nations because we did not keep his commandments, right? We as Hebrew Israelites teach that you have to keep the commandments, right, in the faith of Christ in order for us to be saved, in order for us to be delivered, and in order for Yahawashi's kingdom to be established, right? So coming back here to Daniel chapter 7 and verse 9, it says, I beheld until the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set and the books were open, right? So judgment day, right? Obviously, this is a future prophecy. We're waiting for this to come to pass, right? Hopefully very, very soon, considering everything that we see going on in the world today, right? Verse 11, it says, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, and I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So the beast, right? This fourth beast is going to be destroyed and given to the burning flame. All right. It says it spoke great words. Who's speaking great words? This little horn speaking great words. And this is America. America is that little horn, right? Babylon the Great. Okay. It says given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. Because again, the people, right, who ruled these different kingdoms, the Greeks still live. The descendants of the Greek Empire, right? They still live. Now the confusion is going to come in, right, with the word Greek, Yawan or Javan in the Hebrew, right? But we'll get into that, okay? It says they were prolonged for a season of time, right? Verse 13. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man. This is Yahawashi, right? Who the world calls Jesus Christ, who he will call Yahusha. Came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory in a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this, right? This guy is into the truth, right? He has a channel called Truth Unedited, right? Daniel's getting the truth, right? And now we're breaking down the truth through the spirit and power of YAHAWAH, right? It says, the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of things. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever, right? So the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled, right, is going to happen when Yahawashi's kingdom, right, is established on the earth, right, where the saints will rule with him, right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 2 and verse 25, right? It says, but that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works until the end, to him will I give power over the nations. This is the dominion. This is the kingdom, right? Given to who? To the saints, and which are the Israelites. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father. So the same way that Yahawashi, right, is given dominion, right, that all people, nations should serve him, right? He's going to share that with who? With the saints. The saints of the Most High are going to take the kingdom, possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever, right? Let's go somewhere else. Another witness, right? Matthew 25, right? Right? Check this out, right? Matthew chapter 25, and I'll just start from 31. It says, and when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. Right? Who is he ruling over? According to biblical prophecy, over all nations, kindreds, and tongues, over all people, right? And the saints, which are the Israelites, are going to have possession of the kingdom with him, right? We're going to further prove that. It says, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another. So Edomites, you guys stand right here, right? Moabites, you guys stand right here, all right? Elamites, you guys stand right here. They're going to be separated one from another, right? It says, as a sheep divideth his sheep from the goats, and he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right, come ye blessed of my father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Right? So who are the sheep? Well, Yahawashi says in Matthew chapter 15 in verse 24, what does he say? But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? Jeremiah 15:6, right? It says, my people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. So the children of Israel shall, right? They are the sheep, right? They are the lost sheep. They're going to be found, right? They're going to be gathered, right? And the kingdom was prepared for them. The kingdom, right, shall come to the daughter of Zion, right? Let's go to Micah chapter 4 and verse 8. Micah chapter 4 and verse 8. It says, thou, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, right? Unto thee shall it come, right? What's coming to the daughter of Zion? Even the first dominion, the kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem. It says, now why dost thou cry aloud? Is there no king in thee? Why are the saints, why are the Israelites, the daughter of Zion, why are they crying? Why are they in travail? Right? Currently, because we don't have, our king's not here. Right? He's sitting at the right hand of the Father until the Most High God makes his enemies his footstools. So he gives him that dominion, right? That all nations would serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away. Okay? So it says, why dost thou cry out aloud? Is there no king in thee? Thy counselor is thy counselor perished? Yes, Yahawashi died for our sins. He said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. It says, for pangs have taken thee as a woman in travail. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. There YAHAWAH shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. So, truth unedited, if we are the children of Israel, right, and you admit that we're in the hand of our enemies, and you admit that white people have done all types of atrocities against us. They've made war with us. How are you coming to the conclusion that they're not the Edomites? The book of Malachi, chapter 1, says that the Edomites are the border of wickedness. Job chapter 9, verse 24 says that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. If I place this water bottle in someone's hand, they now have control over it. Currently, I have the water bottle in my hand. I have control over it. So if the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked, whoever's ruling the earth, they have control over it. And who's ruling the earth today? What Gentile nation of people is ruling the earth today? Right? Job 9:24 goes on to say that they cover the faces of the judges thereof. When we look at the judges of the Bible, when we look them up and look at how they're depicted, they're always depicted as what? As white people. You mean to tell me, right, that the people who control the earth, let's say you don't want to say that they're white people control the earth. You mean to tell me that, maybe the Asian people, they control the earth and they're the ones who, I don't know, cover the faces of the judges as white people? That doesn't even make sense, right? But let's continue. It says, verse 11, now also many nations are gathered against thee, that say, let her be defiled, and let our eye look upon Zion. But they know not the thoughts of Yahawah, neither understand they his counsel, for he shall gather them as sheaves unto the floor. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hooves brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto Yahawah, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. Right? So all of this happens when Yahawashi returns. Okay? Very, very simple. Right? Now, Brother Nicholas, you jump you jumping the gun, right? We're gonna get there, right? So let's go back to this brother.
So it's easy to understand that this teaching about who Esau is, it's easy to just wrap your head around, and therefore it allows you to justify your hate. But I promise that this is just another tool from the...
Hold on. See, here's the thing about niggas like this, right? I'm gonna keep it funky, right? I don't hate the Edomites because of the color of their skin. The Edomites, who are Caucasian people, right? So-called Caucasians, they hate us because of the color of our skin. They're the ones who created this idea of race, right? This modern social construct of race, where your race is indicative of phenotype, right? They created Mongoloid, Negroid, Caucasoid. That's what they created. They created this modern concept of race, right? They judged us based off of our skin color. Right? Let's look at some of the terms that so-called white people through the annals of time called people. They used to call us all Ethiopian. Does anyone know what the term Ethiopian means? Does anyone in the chat, right? Let's see. Does anyone know what the term Ethiopian means? The etymology of the word Ethiopian. Right? Anyone know? Sister Tessa got it right. Burnt face. Anyone know who came up with the term Ethiopian? It was the Greeks. So white people, right? They literally called people in Africa, called them burnt face, right? Etymology of Ethiopian is derived from the Greek words ithos, meaning burnt or fiery, and ops, meaning face. Burnt face. They literally name people based off of their phenotype, off of the color of their skin. No, I do not have a disdain, have a dislike, right, for the people that raped, robbed, murdered, enslaved, and have exploited my people for the past 500 plus years. I don't have a disdain for them. And no so-called black person, so-called Hispanic person who has a disdain for Caucasians has it because of the color of their skin. Stupid nigga. We don't like them because of the content of their character, what they have done in the earth. It literally says that they made war with the saints. Let's just go back. Let's go to his own words.
For this false doctrine. Hear about the falsehoods that surround the Israelite camps. It is completely understandable on why many people have fallen for this false doctrine. I mean, I understand that many people come across these false teachings, and it's easy to believe because of the wickedness and the hatred and the racism from those in the so-called white community that have oppressed us and hated us and our ancestors for centuries. I mean,
so it doesn't enter your mind that maybe the reason why we don't like these people is because of what they've done to us historically and continue to do to us. Like, bro, what are we talking about? And this is why this nigga has 763,000 subscribers and gets hundreds of thousands of views per video, because he teaches a watered down doctrine that's palatable to the Stockholm syndrome riddled mind of silly Negroes like himself. Like, what are we talking about?
and still do to this day. So it's easy to understand that this teaching about who Esau is, it's easy to just wrap your head around, and therefore it allows you to justify your hate. But I promise that this is just another tool from the devil used to keep you out of our Father's hands and keeps you attached to the enemy by controlling you through your flesh.
How is hating white people separating you from God? Like, what? This nigga, like, the leaps and bounds that he makes. It just does not make sense how insanely stupid this brother is.
History does not support the label of Esau being attached to the group of people referred to as white people.
Why not?
To make sure that I provided the information and history so that Israelites can make up their own mind. This topic is extremely important because many Israelites are going to miss the promises because of the false doctrine of the leaders that they.
How? I would love to have a conversation with this brother. Brother Ron, how? Are the promises contingent upon hating white people or not? No. Like, what are we talking about? Let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 9. Romans 9:1 says, I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart, for I wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants, plural, and the giving of the law and the service of God and the, what's that say? Promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came. So Christ only came for the Israelites out of Paul's own mouth. And the promises are ours because they were given to our fathers, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Most High God is not a breaker of covenants, right? Nor a breaker of promises. So because he made a promise to our forefather Abraham, that promise was passed down to Isaac, and that promise was passed down to Jacob and his descendants. Whether or not those descendants have a hatred for Esau, or you're trying to tell us that white people are not the Edomites, somehow we're not going to miss the promises because of that. What by book, chapter, verse? What Bible verse says that if you hate white people, you're going to miss the promises? Like the sister Alicia Israel said, his word don't come back void. this brother is really, really, really silly, right? He does not know the Bible.
Well, who Esau is does matter, and it's time that this teaching is brought out into the open. So we're going to discuss Esau. Let's begin. Now, this will be fairly long and in-depth because I'm not splitting this up into separate videos. It's just not a proper way of dealing with this topic. So please bear with me as I go through this. So let me just say this first before I go into the history. I understand what the scriptures say. It says, I have loved you, says Yahuwah. Yet you say, in what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, says Yahuwah? Yet Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated, and laid waste his mountains and his heritage for the jackal of the wilderness. That's Malachi chapter 1, verses 2 and 3. Now there's more to the scriptures, and I will come back to it toward the end. I understand what our father said here, and I'm not getting away from it. What most people like to do is look at these kind of messages as weakness. People like this message about the white man being Esau, and they feel those that speak against it, they're looked at as scholars and we're just weak. Let's be clear that this is not what you're receiving here. It's not about weakness, but truth. Weakness will be me avoiding the subject because so many of you are indoctrinated and you attack before you hear. That will be weakness. This is not about weakness. It's about truth. Truth unedited. The problem I have is the false teachings from your Masonic leaders that use false knowledge to make false accusations.
All right, your Masonic leaders. Now, let's keep it. Here's the thing. I don't know Bishop Nathaniel personally whatsoever. I got nothing against the brother, right? I know this guy. Don't like him. He's a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong. But I'm pretty sure Captain Tazariak is not a Mason. I personally know this guy. Literally had this nigga in my home, right? Right? Was in his organization for 6 years. This nigga's not a Mason. So let's just go back. Like, again, you listen, you do not have to teach, you don't have to preach to me that Alazar is a piece of shit at all. Okay? You don't have to preach to me that he's a piece of shit. Right? But what you're not going to do is lie and say that the nigga is a goddamn Mason.
The problem I have is the false teachings from your Masonic leaders that use false knowledge to make false accusations. These understandings and beliefs are leading many of you in these camps to the same destiny as Esau. The craziest thing and hypocritical thing to me is that as you claim to hate Esau, many of you follow doctrines that are completely given to you by an organization that uses Esau to bring about your demise.
So, guys, what is this nigga talking about? Like, seriously, what is this guy talking about? He's just making shit up. So I'm looking here, got chapters, right? So Masonic agenda of white versus black, right? We're gonna skip that part, right? Because that's just gonna be stupidity at its finest, right? Let's go to scriptural history of Esau and Jacob. Let's see where he's going here.
We will start in Genesis chapter 25. It says, this is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. Now Isaac pleaded with Yahuwah for his wife because she was barren, and Yahuwah granted his plea, and Rebekah his wife conceived. But the children struggled together within her. She said, if all is well, why am I like this? So she went to inquire of Yahuwah. Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb. 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau.
So now he's trying to make Esau mean like that Esau is ruddy, right? Now Esau's name YAHAWAH means wasted away is he. He's wasted away, right? He's red like a hairy garment, right? When we look at the literature in which this story is taken from, it's from the book of Genesis, right? Which is part of the Torah, right? The only description of a hairy garment that we have elsewhere in Torah, right, are the ram skins dyed red. And they were dyed with something known as kermes dye, which is literal red, right? Like this color red, right? I had to throw on the EDK shirt, right? Had to throw it on today through the spirit and power of Yahawashi shanyam-ishar, right? It's big EDK over here, right? Let's go.
Afterward, his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter.
So now Esau got goddamn woolly hair, right? He's ruddy brown, right?
End of the field.
And this is what this guy does. He uses imagery, right? Imagery is very, very, very important, right? So it's funny that he says he brings up the story of Jacob and Esau, right? Let's take a look at the Bible, right? Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, right? Chapter 6. Watch this. Watch. Now let us cook this nigga, right? And again, I love this brother, but you're a liar, right? And guess what? The Bible says all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire that burneth forever, right? So you are cruising for a bruising, pal, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 1. It says, and he said unto me, in the beginning of the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, forever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, forever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitudes of angels were gathered together. So before all of this happened, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys of Zion were hot, and the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed and have gathered faith for a treasure. Then I did consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other, right? So the Most High God's in control, right? Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him. Who's the him? Isaac, right? Jacob and Esau were born of Isaac. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Why? For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel of the hand. Other questions, Ezra, ask thou not, right? So the angel told Ezra, listen, the time where the Gentiles rule, right? Because Ezra said, I know that day of Zion, right? Actually, just go there real quick, right? Let's go to chapter 3. All right, so let's start at verse 30. So 2nd Ezra chapter 3 and verse 30. It says, for I have seen how thou sufferest them sinning, and hast spared wicked doers, and have destroyed thy people, and hast preserved thine enemies, and hast not signified it. Right? I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion? Or is there any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel? Or what generation has so believed thy covenants as Jacob? And yet their reward appeareth not. The heathen are not getting judged, Ezra is complaining to God, right? These evil people, these heathen, they're not getting judged, right? But we're getting judged, right? Ezra, to whom much is given, much is required, right? So the Most High God, all right, he's punishing us because what? He loves us because we're his children, right? They're bastards, right? Hebrews, what's that? Hebrews chapter 12 or 10 tells us that, right? So it says, and their reward repaireth not, and their labor hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, right, through the country, through the nations, and I see that they flow in wealth, and think not upon thy commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the earth, and so shall thy name nowhere be found, but where? But in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name have kept thy precepts, but not the heathen, right? So when we go back here to 2nd Ezra chapter 6, right, he's asking, when is this going to be over? Because he's pondering about the suffering of the children of Israel, right? And what does the angel tell him on behalf of the Most High God? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Isaac and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? So now, if we bring this back to Daniel, the 7th chapter, right? Actually, let's go to Daniel chapter 2. Check this out. Because Daniel 2 lines up with Daniel 7. Right? Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream of this image, right? Of a statue, essentially. Right? Let's just take a look. Daniel 2 statue. That's a small one. Right? So we got the golden head that represents the Babylonian Empire. We have the chest and arms of silver that represent the Medo-Persian Empire. We have the belly and thighs of brass. We have the legs of iron, and we have the feet partly of iron and partly of clay. Then there's Salakia. Then there is a rock cut out of heaven that smites this image and consumes all these kingdoms, right? Just to give context, give a little visual aid here. Okay. So now let's take a look at Daniel chapter 2, right? And so we see, boom, like if you look in your scripture in the Bible, you're going to see the kingdom, right? You look at interpretation, right? So it says, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, right? Daniel chapter 4 says that the Most High God giveth it to whomever he will, right? And he made thee a ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So you have the Medo-Persians represented by that silver. You have the Greeks representative of the brass, right? And then we have the fourth kingdom, right? And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, right? So iron and clay don't mix together, right? But it's still strong, right? The feet, right? So we have the iron that represents the Roman Empire, right? It's divided, right? And then that divided kingdom is partly strong, partly weak, right? And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken, right? Looking at this Western European power structure, it's partly strong and partly weak, right? You have weak nations, right, like Greece, right? You have Italy's freaking crumbling right now, and it's very interesting, right, that both Greece and Italy, because Italy is the seat of Rome, right? Greece is the seat of the third kingdom, right? They're both weak, but they make up the Western European power structure that was consumed by the Roman Empire, coincidentally enough, right? Or not coincidentally enough, rather. Okay. Verse 43, whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with clay, mixed with miry clay, then shall they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So this kingdom is divided, right there. Again, Yahawashi says, if Satan casts out Satan, it cannot stand. Okay. Verse 44, and in the days of these kings, the kings that are representative of those 10 toes, right, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and that kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, and the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So, with that said, when this kingdom, right? When this kingdom is established, it's Jacob's kingdom, right? This kingdom will not be left to other people. This kingdom will be ruled by Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world calls Jesus Christ, who lets us know in Matthew 25th chapter that the sheep, all right, are going to inherit the kingdom that will prepare for them from before the foundations of the earth, right? The same kingdom that the prophet Micah says is going to come to the daughter of Jerusalem, the Israelites. The Israelites are this kingdom. So when we come back here to 2nd Ezra chapter 6, right, and we'll pick back up here verse 8, it says, verse 7, it says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. That's why Jacob got his name. Gaikwad, which means supplanter. Okay, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So when the children of Israel, right, are put back in their land, when they're exalted, when their kingdom, all right, under their king Hamashiach Yahawashi is established in the earth, it's going to be at the end of Esau's kingdom. And my question to anyone is, who is ruling the earth today? When we look at, for instance, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 36, right? Ezekiel 36, one of my favorite chapters, right? It lets us know, right? The Son of Man sought to prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, right? To the mountains, right? I'm going to jump down to verse 4. It says, therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahawah. Thus saith the Lord Yahawah, to the mountains and to the hills and to the rivers and to the valleys and to the desolate wastes and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a praise and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahawah, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea. Who is Idumea? Oh, let's just look it up. Edom. This is Edom. Edomites. So the Edomites have control of the Holy Land, right? It says, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. All right. I'm going to jump down to verse 7. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahawah, I have lifted up my hand. Surely the heathen that are round about you shall bear their shame. Right now, they're bearing their shame, right? Bombs over Tel Aviv, right? Bombs over Haifa. It's up, okay? It says, verse 8, but ye, O mountains of Israel, shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people Israel, for they are at hand to come. So again, the parting asunder of the times, right? Jacob is the beginning of the world, or the kingdom that's going to follow on the heels of Esau's kingdom. So who's ruling the earth today? It's the Edomites. This nigga does not know what he's talking about.
But Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents, and Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game. But Rebekah loved Jacob. That's Genesis chapter 25, verses 19 to 28. Now listen, there's an important point to understand.
Oh boy, hold on. Okay, hold on.
You see, a birthright refers to special privileges and advantages, including inheritance and leadership that belong to the firstborn son in the family. The firstborn son often became the leader of the family. Esau despised his birthright and sold it to Jacob, making Jacob the future leader of the family. Now also, we know that Jacob stole Esau's blessing. It says,
okay, so this is what kills me with niggas, right? Doesn't the blessing come with the birthright? I'm pretty sure Isaac didn't know that Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. So if Jacob, right, has the possession of the birthright, right, that means he has possession of the blessing, right? So now, before we even go there, let's go to Genesis, right? hold on. I want to get this on deck too. Right? Watch this, right? So Genesis chapter 25 and verse 25. Actually, I'll start at verse right. And he went over this, right? So it says, the children struggled together within her, right? Here we are, Genesis 25 and 22, right? They struggle within her, okay? And she said, if it be so, like if this is a blessing, if it be so, why am I thus? Why is this happening? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. The elder shall serve the younger. So she knew. Rebecca knew, because the Lord told her, hey, you got 2 nations in your womb, right? 2 separate manner of people are going to be separated from thy bowels. The older, he's going to serve the younger, which is opposite of what's customary, where the older is, like, as he says, the leader of the family. But guess what? She already knew that they're going to be separated. There are 2 nations that are going to be separated from her bowels. So when she got with Jacob to get the blessing, because Isaac didn't know this. Esau was Isaac's favorite because he was a hunter, right?
And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his clothing, and blessed him and said, surely the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which Yahawaah has blessed. Therefore may Elohim give you of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's son bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you. Genesis chapter 27, verses 27 through 29. And then it says, and Esau said, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times.
These 2 times? Esau. And this is not what Esau looks like. All right. This nigga is just deceptive, right? He's lost. All right. Esau sold the birthright. How can he supplant you when you sold the birthright? Like, what are we talking about? Right? So let's go to the book of Hebrews chapter 12. And I'll start verse 14. It says, follow peace with all men and holiness without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. What are we talking about, sir? Esau sold the birthright. So if you sold the birthright, that means you also sold the blessing, because the blessing comes with the birthright. Man, this guy is insane. This guy is insane.
Away my birthright, and now look, he has taken away my blessing. And he said, have you not reserved the blessing for me? Genesis chapter 27, verse 36. So let's add to what we know. Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, and Jacob sold Esau's blessing.
The blessing comes with the birthright.
Now let's be clear about some things. In Jacob stealing Esau's blessing, there's more to the story than what we read about in Genesis. The book of Jubilees and Jasher gives us more understanding if we read it. See, Abraham wanted his blessing to be passed.
And here we go. And here we go with the nonsense, the Jasher and the Jubilees. You see, let's go over real quick, right? Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. It says, to the law, last time I checked, Genesis is part of the Torah, it's part of the law, and to the testimony, which are the prophets. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. There is no light in truth unedited. Because he's over here going to the book of Jasher and Jubilees. You got to be kidding me.
Jacob. and he told Rebekah to ensure it. It says, and Abraham loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Jacob should his name and seed be called. And he called Rebekah and gave him. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Jacob should his name and seed be called. And he called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that she too loved Jacob more than Esau. And he said unto her, my daughter, watch over my son Jacob, for he shall be in my stead on the earth, and for a blessing in the midst of the children of men, and for the glory of the whole seed of Shem. For I know that Yahweh will choose him to be a people for a possession unto himself, above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. And behold, Isaac, my son, loves Esau more than Jacob. But I see that you truly love Jacob. And still further to your kindness to him, let your eyes be upon him in love, for he shall be a blessing unto us on the earth from henceforth unto all generations of the earth. Let your hands be strong, let your heart rejoice in your son Jacob, for I have loved him far beyond all my sons. He shall be blessed forever, and his seed shall fill the whole earth. If a man can number the sand of the earth, his seed also shall be numbered. And the blessing wherewith Yahweh has blessed me, and my seed shall belong to Jacob, and his seed always. That's Jubilees chapter 19, verses 15 through 23. And you see, this is why Rebekah ensured that the blessing was passed down to Jacob. Just so that's understood.
So you went through all of this to say that that's why she ensured that the blessing would pass to Esau, I mean to Jacob, not Esau. Did she not did not the Lord tell her that the elder shall serve the younger? Yo, this guy is something else, man. This guy is, as the sister said, delusional, right? Shout out to the brother Yashai, right? This guy's a schmuck, right? This guy is a schmuck, okay? Listen, I wouldn't be surprised. See, know what happens, right? They say when you point the finger, you have three fingers pointing right back at you. This nigga's pointing all this Freemason fingers, all these Freemason fingers. Listen, this nigga might be a Freemason, right? This nigga is either whether he's a Freemason or not. I'm not gonna go on the limb and say that he's a Freemason. This nigga is an agent of confusion. He's an agent of confusion. So anyway, right? Let's continue.
Now, after these events of Jacob stealing Esau's blessing, it's obvious that Esau hated Jacob. So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Genesis chapter 27, verse 41. And so many years separated them until Isaac died. In Jubilees, it gives an account. On the day that Isaac, the father of Jacob and Esau, died, the sons of Esau heard that Isaac had given the portion of the elder to his younger son Jacob, and they were very angry. And they strove with their father, saying, why has your father given Jacob the portion of the elder and passed over you, although you are the elder and Jacob the younger?
So let's go here.
You have to understand why it is. Calling people labeled white people as Esau is just not correct. You see, those who we call white people, they are not descendants of the Khazarians, who we know as Esau. And your leaders who have made all white people represent Esau, they are lying to you and promoting you to commit the same.
Okay, so I'm assuming he's saying that the Khazars, they're the only Edomites. Let's go here.
Now, there's a lot more to this history about Herod, but this is not about Herod. The point I'm making is that the Edomites had control over the Yahudim, but after the first and second wars of the Yahudim, the Edomites, they began to be written out of history. The last thing written on their history was by Josephus and the War of the Jews. It says, immediately before the siege of Jerusalem, 20,000 Idumeans, under the leadership of John, Simeon, Phinehas, and Jacob, appeared before Jerusalem to fight in behalf of the Zealots who were besieged in the temple. You must understand, the Edomite Jews, they were already tied to Rome in their allegiance, as was their custom. You must understand that they were not tied to the Yahudim at the fall of Jerusalem.
Okay, so now let's really cook this stupid nigga, Lord in Christ. All right. Herod the Great. He just brushed over. Oh, this is not about Herod, right? So Herod, right? He was set up. He was the Roman Jewish client king of the Herodian kingdom of Judea. He is known for his colossal building projects throughout Judea, right? So now, if we look at who his father is Antipater the Idumean, right? He was the founder of the Herodian dynasty and the father of Herod the Great, according to Josephus. He was the son of Antipas and had formerly held that name, right? A native of Idumea regions. So he's an Edomite, right? He's an Edomite and he's the son of Antipas. Last time I checked, Antipas, that's a Greek name. So the Greeks were Edomites. Let's prove that even further, right? Let's look at this individual by the name of Agag. Agag in the Bible, right? Look at Agag in the Bible. He's the king of the Amalekites, right? Agag is the king of the Amalekites, right? Now, when we look at someone, right, in the Bible known as Haman, we see that it says, after these things, did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. The Agagite. So this guy, Haman, is a descendant of King Agag, right? Agagia, right? Set of Haman, man the Agagite. Patrial or patronymic of what? Agag. Who was Agag? He's the king of the Amalekites. The Amalekites are one of the dukes of Edom. They're one of the dukedoms of Edom. So Haman is an Agagite. He's an Amalekite. He's an Edomite. Haman is an Edomite. Okay? So now let's go to the book of Additions to Esther, right? This is just Greek Esther, right? Let me find it real quick, right? So let's go to Additions to Esther. I think it's 7. Right. Watch this. So let's go to chapter 16. That's how it is in this book, right? So it says, so this is Additions to Esther, all right? So let's just go to the point. It says, for Haman, all right, Ammon, right? This is just Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Hammedatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us, had so fair forth obtained the favor that we show toward every nation, as that he was called our father and was continually honored of all men as the next person unto the king. So Haman was right next to the king, right? Haman is an Agagite, which is an Amalekite, which is an Edomite. He's also called a Macedonian. Oh, who are the Macedonians? You ever heard of this guy named Philip, the Macedonian? Philip II of Macedon. He was the king of the ancient kingdom of Macedonia. All right. Was a member of the Agria dynasty, founder of the ancient kingdom, and the father of who? Alexander the Great. Last time I checked, that guy is white. This is a white man. So the Edomites are white. Coming back here to Antipater the Edomite, his name was also, he's the son of Antipas. Right? The son of Antipas. And what's that? That's a Greek name. So it goes on to say, it says, a native of Idumea, a region southeast of Judah, in which the Edomites settled during the classical period. Antipater became a powerful official under the latter Hasmonean kings and subsequently became a client of Roman General Pompey when Pompey conquered Judah in the name of the Roman Republic. Right after Julius Caesar defeated Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus, Antipater sided with Caesar during the Roman Civil War. During Caesar's Egyptian campaign, Antipater joined Mithridates of Pergamon's army, marching to rescue Caesar in Alexandria. Caesar made him chief minister of Judea as Judah became known to the Romans, with the right to collect taxes. Eventually, Caesar made Antipater's son Phasaelus and Herod the governors of Jerusalem and Galilee, respectively. So let's take a look at Antipater the Edomian. Right, let's look at let's try to find a picture of this guy. So this is Herod, right? And this is Antipater the Edomite. Antipater the Edomite. That's a white man. That is a white man. So a guy named Antipater the Edomite, the father of Herod, that's a white man. Here's another picture of him, an older age, right? A white man. Very clearly a white man. So this nigga, Ron, has no clue what the hell he's talking about. It's clear that Esau is the white man. But you don't see it because you're blind. You're a blind fool.
Not loyal to them. They were tied to Rome, and many of them migrated into the Roman Empire. And it was at this time that there was an undeclared historic split on who we call Yahudim, or Jews. Many of the true Yahudim did not go into the Roman territory after Rome burned their lands. I mean, imagine running into the land of your enemy for refuge when they were already destroying you and your people. The true Yahudim fled south and east into Africa and Arabia, which is how we got the story of Islam, as I documented in the video about Islam. They scattered away from Roman influence. And many others were already scattered in Europe from the time of Titus, carrying many of them off, which is why the Apostle Paul himself was traveling around Asia Minor, trying to make it as far as Spain to spread the gospel. They were scattered there. More until we get to the Khazars. So in order to understand the subject, we need to discuss the Khazars. In his book, The Jews of Khazaria, Kevin Brooke discusses in great detail about the Khazars. He explains that the Khazars emerged on the world scene as Turkic horsemen who believed in shamanism and lived a nomadic lifestyle. They are predominantly Turkic and probably originated in the steppes of Central Asia or perhaps in the Ural or Caucasus Mountains. The details of their origin are said to be somewhat obscure. Arthur Koestler, in his book, The 13th Tribe, he writes that the origin of the name Khazar has been the subject of much speculation. Most likely the word is derived from the Turkish word gaz, to wonder, and simply means nomad. And they speculate this because this is what Khazars were. Brooks says the Khazars were racially and ethnically mixed. Among them were black-haired peoples with dark brown eyes, red-haired people with green or hazel eyes, and fair-haired peoples with blue eyes. Many resemble Europeans or Eastern Europeans. One of the earliest factual references to the Khazars dates from the year 555, when an anonymous author wrote a supplement attached to the Syriac translation of Greek church history, Zacharias Reader. In this supplement, Brooks says the Khazars were listed among the nomadic tribes living in tents north of the Caucasus Mountains. The point is that they were Europeans descending from Japheth. Now, Arthur Koestler explained that.
Now the Europeans descended from Japheth. Okay. This nigga knows absolutely nothing, right? So let's take a look here, right? These are the original inhabitants, right, of Greece, right? The Minoans. They're black people, right? They're black people, right? Here are Minoans. Don't these guys look like Samoans? Because that's who the sons of Japheth are, right? Okay, the Medes descend from Japheth, right? Darius the Mede. Let's find an image. Right? This is a relief of Darius, right? Here's Darius. These are descendants of Japheth. So they're people of color, right? Then we can look at the Etruscans, the original inhabitants of Italy, right? Let's look at Etruscan pottery. Let me find a good image. right? Why didn't they make themselves look white? Why did they deliberately make themselves black on the pods? Here are the Etruscans. These are people of color, but you're trying to say that white people, that these kids are, that these are white people. This nigga don't know shit. This nigga really doesn't know a goddamn thing.
Beginning of the 8th century, the world was polarized between the two superpowers representing Christianity and Islam. The ideological doctrines were welded to power politics pursued by the classical methods of propaganda, subversion, and military conquest. The Khazar Empire represented a third force, which had proved equal to either of them, both as an adversary and an ally. But it could only maintain its independence by accepting neither Christianity nor Islam, for either choice would have automatically subordinated it to the authority of the Roman emperor or the Caliph of Baghdad. But all they resulted in was the exchange of diplomatic courtesies, dynastic intermarriages, and shifting military alliances based on mutual self-interest. Relying on its military strength, the Khazar kingdom was determined to preserve its position as the third force, leader of the uncommitted nations of the steppes.
All right, let's skip here.
You have to understand why it is. Calling people labeled white people as Esau is just not correct. You see, those who we call white people, they are not descendants of the Khazarians, who we know as Esau. And your leaders who have made all white people represent Esau, they are lying to you.
All right, so he's saying the Khazarians are Esau, and he's saying, and that those are the only Edomites. Last time I checked, there were 12 dukes of Edom. So you mean to tell me that only the Khazars, that the Khazars made up all of those dukes? When we just showed who Antipater the Edomite is, the father of King Herod, who you agreed is an Edomite. Like, this nigga is really stupid.
Commit the same sins as these oppressors. If you just read your Bible and applied it without these leaders' influence, it would be very clear. See, Genesis chapter 10, verse 2 through 5 goes over the children of Japheth. It said the sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodani. Verse 5 says that these from the coastland peoples of the Gentiles were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language, according to their family, and to their nations. So Japheth occupied the isle of the Gentiles, which were the shore territories of the Mediterranean Sea in Europe and parts of Asia Minor, from where they dispersed northward over the continent.
This map is BS. This map is just absolute BS. You do realize that white people, that they literally go all over the place and steal identities. Don't believe me? There are white people that call themselves African. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? But again, we prove emphatically through a plethora of prophecy, right? Actual scripture, not fucking jubilees and damn Jasher, right? Jasher that says that that Simeon married Dinah. So you mean to tell me that the whole tribe of Simeon are mamzers? According to one of the books that he wants to quote, the book of Jasher. The book of Jubilees has a bunch of bullshit in it too, right? A bunch of contradictions that completely contradict the Torah, completely contradicts the Tanakh. And this is why I went to Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to his word, it is because there's no light in them. There's no light in this brother Ron of truth unedited, right? This should be falsehood unedited or truth edited.
Of Europe and a great part of Asia. Japheth's descendants traveled west, north, and northeast of the mountain of Ararat and the Caucasus Mountains. The Japhites settled near the mountains of Taurus and Amanus in Turkey. They journeyed to the river Tanais in southeast Russia and along to Cadiz.
Where's he getting this from? Because Turkey, or Anatolia, you know who had control over that land? The Hittites. And the Hittites are Canaanites. What is this guy talking about? This nigga is just making shit up.
If you have ever been to Europe, you will see that this is where the so-called people that we call white people, this is where they descend from. I think that this is public knowledge that the so-called white people descend from Europe. If you read the Bible, it explains what these nations of people are. You see, those who are inhabitants of America, who we call white people, it explains what these nations of people are.
Where is this guy getting this from? Like what? Japan? Like, bro, what like Japan, model astronauts in Japan, Korea. This guy is so goddamn just deceitful. Actually, I don't think he's doing it deceptively. I just think he believes the bullshit that comes out of his mouth. This nigga thinks he knows something, but he knows nothing. He knows absolutely nothing.
You see, those who are inhabitants of America, who we call white people, they are a blend of the children of Japheth. You see, in the 4th century, the Germanic tribes, they were on the move. They were known under these names: Lombards, Burgundians, Franks, Saxons, Angles, Jutes, Ostrogoths, Visigoths, Swedes, and Vandals. These 10 Germanic barbarian tribes settled all over Western Europe and intermingled with the modern nations of Western Europe as we know them today, which is where we get Europeans. The children of Japheth are where we get the Europeans from today. So if we're being biblically and historically accurate, referring to all white people as equal,
you're not being biblically accurate by going to the book of Jubilees, which is not biblical, stupid nigga. And again, we just proved with the actual Bible that Haman, who's called an Amalekite, is also called a Macedonian. And last time I checked, the Macedonians at that time were white people. Alexander the Great is from Macedon. He's the king. He was the king of Macedonia. That's the beginning of his kingdom. Alexander the Great was a white man. And they went across Hellenizing people. They had Haman in the Persian royal court trying to translate the kingdom from who? From the Persians to the Macedonians. All right, so let's actually finish that up, right? So it says, but he, not bearing his dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life. That was Haman's plan. Having by manifold and cunning deceit sought of us the destruction, as well as it says Mordecai. This is Mordecai, who saved our life and continually procured our good, as also the blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom, with their whole nation. For by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians. To who? His Macedonian brethren. So here we have these Edomites dwelling in Macedon. Why? Because we have this thing known as the Dorian invasion. I'm sure Ron hasn't done extensive research on the Dorian invasion. Lord willing, I'll do a video on this soon, right? But white people, because again, let's go to Malachi, right? Let's go to Malachi chapter 1 and verse from the top, right? It says, the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Who are the dragons of the wilderness? The Arabs, the Nabateans specifically, right? So when we look at Mount Seir, all right, which is, so let me do it, Petra, Jordan. This is Mount Seir. It's in modern day Petra, Jordan. This architecture is eerily similar to who? Greek and Roman architecture. This is the same people. The same people. All right. So he laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness, right? The Nabateans took over, right? Petra. These are Arab tribes. Okay. So now, right, going back here to Malachi, it says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, and I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people whom against the Lord have indignation forever, right? So after they were driven from Mount Seir, which was not originally theirs, they took that from the Horites, right? Where did they go? They went up into Greece. They went up into Italy, right? They essentially took over the Minoans, the Etruscans, the actual Japhites, who are people of color, not whites. And then they started taking over, all right, through this thing called the Dorian invasion, and they start building empires. Because what is their blessing? What is Esau's blessing? Esau's blessing is the sword. His blessing is the sword. And this is how he's been able to wage war all over the world. Again, we also went to the book of Second Ezra, chapter 6, which lets us know that Jacob is the beginning, that Esau is the end of the world, right? Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Jacob's rise, Jacob's kingdom is going to come when Yahawashi, the Messiah, who he calls Yahusha, when he returns, right? And Jacob, right, the daughter of Zion, the Israelites, they will have the dominion. The kingdom shall come to the daughter of Zion, pursuant to Micah, the 4th chapter, right? That's going to come at a time in which the Edomites will be ruling. It will be on the heels of the Edomites' rulership of the world, of the earth. The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. They cover the faces of the judges thereof. If not, who and where is he? How are the ways of Esau found out? Through study. Through studying the Bible. I don't even have to go to extra biblical sources, right? I can stay in the Bible and prove who the Edomites are, right? So now check this out, right? I want to show you guys something, right? So we're going to look up. Let's go to the book of Lamentations, right? Let's go to Lamentations chapter 4. And we'll start from all right. I'm going to start here at verse 18. It says, they hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness. Right? Who's lying wait for us? Let's continue. It says that they're swifter than the eagle, right? Swifter than the eagle. It says, the breath of his nostrils, the anointed of YAHAWAH, was taken in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the heathen. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. It says, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So at a time when the Israelites are not going to be led away captive anymore, which is at their redemption, which is the return of Yahawashi and the establishment of the kingdom of heaven on earth, where Christ and the Israelites will rule all nations, it's going to be at a time when the Edomites are in control of us, or have possession of us, that hunt our steps, right? It says, our punishment for our iniquity will be accomplished, right? He will no longer carry us away into captivity. And what's he going to do? He's going to visit the iniquity of the daughter of Edom at that time. Again, lining up perfectly with 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 8 through 9. Well, really 7 through 9, right? For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? So now, what I want to show you guys, right? Let's just close out some of these, right? Actually, all right, let's close out some of these. So check this out, right? So I want to show you guys something, right? So Targum Jonathan, right? Targum Jonathan. That's right, sister. Checkmate, nigga. The Edomites have Israel in captivity. If we're the Israelites, who has us in captivity right now? Ron? This guy really just does not know the Bible, right? He is an agent of confusion, right? So the Targum Jonathan, right, is the Aramaic translation of the Nevi'im, right, which is the prophets section of the Holy Hebrew Bible, employed in Lower Mesopotamia or Babylonia, right? It is not to be confused with Targum Pseudo Jonathan, an Aramaic translation of Torah. It is often known as Targum Jonathan due to the printer's error, or perhaps because of a stylistically similar to the Targum Jerusalem, which is named Jonathan to differentiate the two latter translations, right? Either way, right? Let's continue. It says, like Targum Onkelos, right? It originated in the synagogue reading of a translation from the Nevi'im, which was part of the weekly lessons. The Talmud attributes its authorship to Jonathan ben Uziel, right? A pupil of Hillel the elder, right? And Megillah, right? So let's look at this guy right here, and let's look at this guy. I'm sure you something. According to this source, it was composed by Jonathan ben Uziel from the mouths of Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, implying that it was based on the tradition derived from the last prophets. The additional statement that on this account, the entire land of Israel was shaken, and that the voice of heaven cried, "Who was revealed my secrets to my children of men?" are legendary reflections of the novelty of Jonathan's undertaking and the disapprobation it invoked, right? It goes on to say the story adds that Jonathan wished to translate the Ketuvim, but a heavenly voice instructed him to stop. The Targum of the book of Job, which was withdrawn from circulation by Gamaliel, right? Who's Gamaliel? Gamaliel, we read about him in the Bible, right? Nasi, or prince of the Sanhedrin, may have represented the result in attempts to translate the Ketuvim, right? Jonathan ben Uziel is named as Hillel's most prominent pupil. So let's look at this Hillel guy, right? He's known as Hillel the elder, the Babylonian, right? He died in 10 CE. So this is during the time in which the Israelites were in the land, right? Was a Jewish religious leader, sage, and scholar associated with the development of the Mishnah and the Talmud, and the founder of the House of Hillel, a school of Tanaim, which was active during the end of the 1st century BCE and the beginning of the 1st century CE. So during the time in which Yahawashi was on the earth, right? So the individual, right, Jonathan ben Uziel, right, is one of 80 Tanaim who studied under Hillel the elder during the Roman ruled Judea. So during the time in which Christ was on the scene. Okay? So now, let me show y'all this. Watch this. Watch this. This nigga is such a... Love a brother, but he's sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. Watch this. Make sure y'all still with me. So let's pull up the Targum Lamentations. Let's pull it up. This one I want. Actually, let's do this one. Watch this. So I'm searching for Rome, right? Watch this, right? It says, I'm gonna read from right here. It says, it must be said, of course, that within rabbinic literature, Edom is commonly used for Rome. In rabbinic literature, Edom is commonly used for Rome, and the Targum maintains the same meaning regardless of the reading of this term. Finally, verses 21 and 22 of chapter 4 have considerable additions which include references to Constantinople, Edom, and Rome. It may be that the Targumist was introduced this equation. Rome equals Edom in verse 17 in preparation of those verses, right? So it was the understanding of rabbinic Judaism at that time during the 1st century CE that Edom is Rome. Like, what are we talking about? Like literally, what are we talking about? Right? Actually, I'm gonna pull this up. I got the actual PDF. Right? Watch this. Stop screen share, home, share screen. Again, here's the Targum for Lamentations. Right? It says, here's the translation: "Rejoice and be cheerful, Constantinople, city of wicked Edom, which is built in the land of Armenia, with the crowds of the people of Edom. Retribution is about to come upon even you." And the Parkebi, I don't know what Parkebi means, who the Parkebi is. Let me see who that is. Right? "Will destroy you, and the cursed cup shall pass to you, and you shall become drunk and exposed. And after this, your iniquity will be finished, O congregation of Zion. But you will be freed by the hands of the king, Messiah, and Elijah the high priest. And the Lord will no longer exile you. And at that time, I will punish your iniquities, wicked Rome, built in Italy, and filled with crowds of Edomites. And the Persians will come and oppress you and destroy you, for your sins have been known before the Lord." Simple. Very, very simple. Okay? So, this guy does not know what the hell he's talking about. This guy, truth unedited, has no clue what he's talking about. He does not know the Bible. All right, and his so-called historical breakdown are horrific. All right, so we're pretty much wrapped up here. I did see that brother asked if we're going to be doing questions. I'll do questions for, let's say, another 7 minutes, 10 minutes max. Any questions? This is Alicia. It's sad that there's people that believe him, but again, many are called, few are chosen. Right? The Most High. What we gotta understand is that the Most High God, He gets glory out of a small amount. Example: Gideon had thousands of men, but the Most High God dwindled his numbers down to 300, and that's all he needed to defeat the Midianites and the Amalekites. All praise to the Most High, brother J Dubs. All praise to the Most High. Great point, Sister Kai. If Esau isn't the white man, then we have another captivity coming. These guys just don't understand the law and the prophets. Niggas don't understand the books that we have. They want to go into all these so-called missing books. Niggas want to be too deep when they need to be one deep. Niggas are deep as a puddle. All right, let's get this Arab out of here. All that Arab shit, yeah, we're not doing that. All right. Israelite, Judahite, right? What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you my email, right? And I would love to set up a dialogue with you, right? Right. Email me, and we're gonna set up a dialogue, because you're sadly mistaken, brother. Right? You probably just came in, right, a few minutes ago. We just extensively went through scripture, right, and proved emphatically that Esau is the white man. Okay. Please explain the rebels in the wilderness. Are they part of the elect? No. So it depends on how you're looking at the term the elect. The whole nation of Israel is elect, right? For Jacob, my servant, said, Israel, mine elect, right? I even surnamed you, right? That's what the Most High God tells us, right? So all of Israel is the elect. However, we have an elect of the elect, right? Because the Most High God is not going to deliver, right? It's not going to, save all of the Israelites, right? When Judgment Day comes, the rebels are going to rebel. They're not going to bow down. They're not going to bow the knee to Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? So when we go to, for instance, what's that, Luke 19:27, right? Let me go ahead and share screen. Luke 19:27. That's where I'll start. Right. So this is all about when Yahawashi returns, right? It says, but those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. Right. When we look at the book of Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel 20th chapter, right? Looking at, I'll just start verse 37. It says, and I will cause you to pass under the rod and bring you into the bond of the covenant. What covenant is this? This is the new covenant. And I'll purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Lord. So the same way that there were rebels in the wilderness, right, when we came out of the land of Egypt, same way it's going to happen this next go around, right? So the rebels will be purged out. They are Israelites, right? Depending on how you're looking at it, they are elect because Israel is the elect, but they're going to be destroyed. They're going to be purged, right? And they'll be regenerated in the kingdom, okay? I did a whole breakdown on who the white man is. He's Canaan. You're an idiot. All right. I don't know who Yavin is. I've never ran from anyone. Right. So again, listen, Israelite Judite, right? You can email me and we can set up a dialogue. Okay. Anyway. Any other questions? Israelite Judite, I'm not going to block you. Right. I'm ending this live right now because I have things to do. Right. I told you to email me and we can set up a dialogue. I can set up a designated dialogue for you. Okay, sir? Any other questions? Like, these niggas are really delusional. This nigga said white people are Canaan. Oh my God, bro. I don't even know if I want to have a conversation with a nigga that stupid that says that the white man is Canaan, Lord in Christ. So, the Canaanites are ruling the earth right now? Wow. Anyway, any other questions, family? He said Brown Hornet asked a good question. Where's Brown Hornet? Where's your question? Is he still here? I can't see Brown Hornet's question. Brown Hornet, if you're still here, ask your question, brother. Sister Namara, man, this guy, I don't know where he got all those maps and stuff, and that chart that said that Japheth, modern day Japan, like, nigga, what are we talking about? I don't really understand that question. When Babylon falls in an hour, how long will that hour be for us? It's an hour. Babylon will be destroyed in an hour. All right. So your question is the situation with Issachar being deported, is it biblical prophecy? Yeah, you can say that it's tied to Daniel, the 7th chapter, which says that the little horn, that they will make war with the saints. Simple. And honestly, when we understand that America is going to be destroyed, right? It's honestly best. It's better for Issachar and Zebulon and, you know, our people getting deported, right? It's better for them, right? Because at least they'll have an opportunity, right, when they're sent back to their countries to get gathered, right, by the chariots brought to the wilderness and have a chance to actually bow down, bend the knee, and get down in the kingdom, right? So yeah, that's my take on that, right? You can tie it to some biblical prophecy, but verbatim. Oh, Issachar will be. Nah, you're not gonna see that, right? But yeah. But with that, I want to give all praises, all glory, all honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, we do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahawashi, who the world calls Jesus Christ. So next time, Shalawam family. Matawathya ball.